Nothing hurts my mom. That she showed anyway.
She'd always say, you do what you need to do to take care of yourself.
But she thought that meant she had to do it on her own. We were trained to help others. But there's strength in finding help for yourself, too. We're in this together. Even the toughest of us might not know where to go to get a little support.
Encourage women who have served to learn more about the VA care and benefits they've earned. The VA Women Veterans Call Center connects veterans with personalized information on VA services that can make a difference. Call 1-855-VA-WOMEN or visit www.womenshealth.va.gov.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. I'm going to call it XL or XXL, double XL. I have my good friend Malachias Gaskin on with my co-host from the demoted mission side, Danielle Rocco. Welcome to Oscar Mike Radio.
I'm so excited to be here, and I am so excited to have time zones.
Well, you know, we got it all worked out. It's all good now. So what is going on? This is part of an overall arc of shows to, bring attention to and honor the Tennessee VFW and what they're doing, and the State Commander's Project Operation TP Pyramid. And Malachias, who resides in Tennessee, I love, is supporting all this. Malachias, how have you been? And welcome.
What? It's my first time on your show.
It is, or our show with Danny.
Yeah.
Well, we got connected through your work with A Warrior's Garden. You served in the Army, you got out, and you started this, and then we'll get to the really good stuff later. Not that this isn't all good. Why don't you tell us, what got you started into the Warrior's Garden from the Army?
Oh, man. So I'll make it a short story. Growing up for 20 years as a landscaper, my dad had a landscape company, and from 10 years old till 30 years old, I was the vice president of operations for that company. And I mean, at 13, I was a supervisor. I was hiring and firing adults. I'm not joking, man. Like, I literally fired a guy who was the driver and made him walk. And then I had to walk to a gas station to get on a payphone to call my dad and go, I need a driver, because I fired the guy. I'm 13, right? But no, so I joined the Army National Guard in 1993, right after I got out of high school. I shipped to basic training in 94. And I was a medic. I went to Fort Sam Houston for AIT, and I served in the National Guard for 9 years. And during that 9 years, I went from E1 to E7. And I went from medic to infantryman, and then back to medic. I made E6 in the infantry, and then reclassed back to medical to take an E7 position. I got out and tried my hand at being a rock star for 3 years, and then ended up homeless with a wife and 3 kids, like literally sleeping on people's floors. My dad died, and the banks closed our business down. And so we ended up with nothing. And I went from landscaping, making $20 an hour with a company truck and all the cool guy stuff, to no one will hire me because they're afraid of me because of who I was in the industry. And so I went back on active duty in 2006, didn't know what else to do. And so I went back on active duty because that guaranteed 3 hots and a cot, a room from place for the family and medical insurance and all that. Ended up at Fort Stewart, Georgia. And anybody who knows military history knows if there's a war going on, the 3rd Infantry Division is going to be a part of it, especially if it's in a desert. So we ended up I got to Fort Stewart, and 11 months later, I was on a plane to Iraq for the first time. And I did 15 months in Iraq as a medic. And during that time, I auditioned to be a vocalist for an Army rock band, and I got accepted. And so when we came back from Iraq, I moved over to the Army band at Fort Stewart and deployed again. I did 13 months in Iraq as a musician for the Army. Came home and was medically retired, and went through a 2.5-year process. I was medically retired for PTSD, traumatic brain injury, arthritis, bursitis, tendonitis, hearing loss, GERD, all the itises. But during the time that I was being med boarded, that 2.5 years, I met this guy, Robbie Grayson, who's the founder of Trademarker Books. And he really encouraged me. Originally, it was they were going to do a documentary on me about using music for therapy. And Army in its infinite wisdom said that I can't be a part of a documentary or on record because I'm going to be med boarded, right? So it's the Army policy. And so he's like, you should write a book. Because at the time I'd kind of transitioned. I was started gardening in my backyard and doing all these things. And the funny thing was, I was going to therapy on post with this social worker, and I went in and I was like, hey, I come in every week. I literally pour my heart out to you, and you do nothing but type on your clipboard or your keyboard and then say, see you next week. I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, what am I supposed to do? Help me. She looked me square in the eyes and just flippantly says, I don't know, get a dog, start a garden. I tossed my chair. I literally cussed her out like I haven't cussed anybody out. I walked out, went home, told my wife, my therapist said, get a dog. And my wife goes, no, you're not getting a dog, which we all know now. I have a beautiful Australian Shepherd as a service dog.
Yeah, you have a dog.
And then, so ended up with a service dog, ended up with, I've got a farm dog who's a blue heeler. And then I wrote a book about all the different things I was doing with gardening, music, my faith, which my faith was a big part of all of it. And then it really launched A Warrior's Garden. And so we came up with the title, the original, which is, that's the logo. But the original cover of the book was a samurai that was in black and white in a full color garden. And it was supposed to signify that feeling of being in the middle of everything, but being completely individual and cut off from it. Right. Nobody got it. So we switched it over to the Warrior's Garden that you see now. But now, yeah, we ended up buying a 22-acre farm in Columbia, Tennessee. We build therapy gardens all over the country for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star families. And once you get a garden, you're a lifetime alumni member, and you get attached to a master gardener program that will teach you and help you grow anything you want.
Awesome. So,
and that was the short version.
Oh, I know it's the short version, and I'm like, wow. I mean, it's a land speed record, right, yeah. Danielle? I mean, and Danielle, I mean, to grow a garden and to grow things, don't you kind of have to believe in this unquantifiable thing called love?
Yes, because don't you know that study that was made, that it was, what is it? Someone spoke like nasty words, angry words to plants, and they all died, and then they spoke love and they were healed. I mean, there's science behind this. Malachias, you agree?
There's studies that show that having your hands in the soil, there's actual microbials that are in the soil that reduce anxiety. They elevate you from depression. They remove you from toxic triggers. They help you to detox. They pull like the bad parts out of you. And that's one of the things I try to teach is, like, you get somebody into a garden situation. Like, I brought veterans out, had their spouse sitting under a tree in the shade while the veteran and I work in the garden, and I don't say anything. Like, I'm like, hey, just pull some weeds. Like, if you've got fruits and vegetables over there that are ready, go ahead and pull them, put them in your bucket. We'll do the thing, and then we'll talk about what we're doing and stuff like that. But go ahead, let's go. And I work in my box, and they work in their box, and we're just close to each other. And then they just start talking, because it's a weird silence, right? So they start talking. They just really start just telling a story that just got brought up because of what we were doing. And then they stop. It happens every time. They'll stop halfway through their story and they go, I don't know, I've never told anybody this. And I look over at their spouse, and they're like they're sharing. Oh my gosh, right? And I'm like, don't stop, keep going. And I just keep doing my thing. And they tell their story, and they get it out, right? And I go, now plant your story, plant it in the garden right now. Let it go, put it down. It's done. You're done carrying it. It's time to let it go.
That's really powerful.
Yeah. But that feeling, because now you go to combat, especially if you're a combat guy, right? If you're a medic, if you're an infantryman, if you're an artillery guy, if you're somebody that's going out doing missions, you're a door kicker, whatever, right? You go out there and your job is to kill the enemy. It's just what it is, And then you come home and you have to turn that switch off, right? Which, fine, okay, but how do you live with what happened from it? You know what I mean? How do you deal with all that trauma, all that crap? And you see, you're such a part of the death and the destruction cycle. Now you take a garden and you put the seeds in the ground, this tiny little seed, right? And then now you have an 8-foot tall okra plant, and you're feeding your family from it. And now you know where your food came from, right? Now you're saving money because you're growing it yourself. Okay. So I've reduced the stressor in finances. I've reduced the stressor in nutrition. I've reduced the stressor in your providing for your family. So the action on your triggers to your trauma will be lessened because you're less stressed, because you've started to take care of Maslow's hierarchy, all because you have a garden.
Right. Well, you're providing growth, love, instead of in your mind, death, all of the negative. It turns into the beautiful. There's the visual of it. You can't deny it. This came from you, and you have so much pain and or blame or guilt that you've done. Well, that can't grow. That doesn't grow, but they produce. Wow. Yeah.
Very, very powerful. So you've taken this, and as we've watched you, take this to other people and enhance their lives, what's the best part? Like you said, when someone starts planting their pain and suffering into the ground and seeing what grows out of it, what's the best part for you?
For me, it's when they follow up afterwards and they start sending me pictures of the vegetables they're providing, and they're pictures of their kids eating stuff, pictures of their kids pulling weeds. You know what I mean? Calling up going, hey man, I would love to grow this, or then they come back and go, hey, they're all in now, right? Hey, my neighbor's a vet. He needs one of these gardens.
Oh, awesome.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, that part right there, because now they're sold on it, right? They believe in it. Because we do, after you go through, you go through these combat traumas, like you stop believing in yourself. You know what I mean? When you're a veteran and you've been through sexual military trauma, you stop believing in yourself, right? And now you have something to believe in again, which gives you that like you start to believe in you again.
Well, what about like the legacy? I'm thinking like it's part embedded in us culturally, spiritually, if you're spiritually, of leaving your legacy. So before they come to meet you and their projection of their life changes, what is that legacy they're thinking? Like, it's not, you don't want to have that legacy continue on. And then you somehow switch, and now it's a generational legacy that you have created a different path for them.
Well, the thing is, like, do you want to pass on a generational legacy, or do you want to pass on a generational curse? Right? So like, do I want to pass my trauma on through my kids to my grandkids to their great grandkids? No, I want to pass. So like, I don't, it's not a joke, but I say it and it sounds kind of like flippant every so often, but like, my boys are 26 and 25, right? And they are a product of my trauma. They grew up going through trauma with me because they saw what dad was going through. My daughter was young enough that when I started to heal from it, my daughter is a product of my healing. So my boys and my girl look at me in a completely different light, not on how dad treated them, but just on who dad is as an individual, right? But it really, again, look, my dad was a racist. He was a bigot. He was a misogynist. He was a sexist. Like he thought that he murdered his first family, like, and that's a whole nother story. But I don't want to pass that down to my kids, right? Like, I want my kids to be, I want all of my children and my grandchildren and all that. I want them to be focused on the healing side of things, not the trauma side of things, because the trauma side of things is where those generational curses come from. That's what David passed down to Solomon. You know what I mean? It's what Adam passed down to Cain and Abel when he was kicked out of the garden. Cain made the bad decisions because he had the trauma from dad because of the loss of the garden. You know what I mean? So like, it's been from that day, and that's here nor there about, whether you believe in the Bible or not, but it's like generational curses are real and we know it. Like, it happens. Because it's a condition that we pass on to our families because it's what we're trained in. You know what I mean? Like, you teach your kids what you know, right? And I made a choice at 13 where, I might be getting off topic, I'm sorry. Where my dad, like, I came home for the last time of hearing my dad going, that mother N-word. And I looked at myself in the mirror at 13 and said, I am not going to be that guy.
Yeah.
I will not be a racist. I'm not going to be like him. So it was my goal, and it's still every day is my goal to be a better version than I was the day before, and to be more progressed and growth in my trauma recovery as opposed to my trauma. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not.
Right.
Well, a lot of people argue about the whole PTSD and PTS. You know what I mean? I don't care what you call it. Trauma is trauma.
Well,
It's what you do with it. Sorry.
speaking of growth and being better every day, when I first met you, it was strictly the Warrior's Garden or a Warrior's Garden. And I knew that you had dabble might be too light of a word, but you had done, vocal performing and stuff for the Army, right?
Right.
Well, we're sitting there. I get the call from, Michelle Baxter saying that you're performing at Brian Walker, who's the Tennessee State Commander for the VFW, at his fundraising event in Collierville, Tennessee for Operation TP Pyramid. And you're not just singing one song or whatever, you've got like original songs you're doing. And that just opened up a whole another set of questions about what have you been up to? Because I think of you as the gardener, not so much as a singer. And then I hear some of this stuff and I'm like, oh my God, it's not country. It's great.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Look at Danielle. You said it's not country. She's like,
oh no,
I have an appreciation for all genres. I
Right.
just happen to be a country lover to my
Right.
core.
well,
I'm not known for my music taste. That is not what I'm known for at all.
how did that all come together? Is this something you've been kind of putting on the wayside and bringing back, or
oh man,
is it just coming out now?
No, so like I mean I started making music at 18. Like I got out
Yeah.
of high school and it was another one of those things where it's like, before that, like I wanted to get a guitar, I wanted to learn to play bass, I wanted to do a bunch of stuff. And when I told my dad I wanted to do all this, he looked at me, he literally, like I said, he's a bigot and a misogynist and all these things. My dad looks at me and goes, no son of mine's going to be an F word. Because all musicians are Fs. And I was like, oh, Dad, whoa, hey, this is the 80s. We only call our friends that. We don't call people that. You know what I mean? Like we call each other that as like, because we're dudes and we joke with each other. But you can't actually say that. You know what I mean? It's the 80s, man. No one, like we didn't do that. So I kind of had to hide it and what was the easy way to hide it is I'm a vocalist, right? So I sing. So I would go to friends' house and we would spin records or put cassettes in and whatever, and I would sing along. And at 18, I was in a punk rock band called Captain Ahab's Fond du Lacs. And then I know, dude. And then it was a silly punk band. It was fun. And then I was in choir off and on through high school. I was the only dude like in my choir a lot of times. I go to small schools. And then, I joined the Army and I was in Army. Well, right before I would join the Army band, during my 3-year break in service, like I joined a rock band called Severance. And we did really, really well. Like we went from being that, you're that brand new breakout artist that you're playing 20 minutes on a Wednesday night at a local club. And you're hauling in and hauling out, and you got to be set up and set and broke down in 10 minutes each, because they want you in and out of there. It's an open mic night type thing, but we're bringing everything. And after, a couple months of that, then now we're opening for other local artists. And then within 6 months, like people are going, hey, can we open for you? We're selling out local clubs, right? We're getting off, I went up to Chicago and auditioned for In Excess Rockstar. And Mark Burnell's people asked me to stay behind afterwards. And they were like, hey, we're really interested in your band. We don't want you for the show. We want to hear more of your original stuff. And then my guitar player decided that I sounded too much like Scott Stapp from Creed and wanted me out of the band and decided he was going to kick me out. And so, and we were going to get signed. Like Capitol Records they wanted to sign us as a band. And so it fell apart. Everything kind of crashed and burned. And at the time, again, I was homeless. And so I auditioned for the band Fuel to be their new frontman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Their singer left in 2005, I think it was. Their singer left and went to go play bass for somebody. He was tired of singing, I guess. I don't know what happened. But I downloaded the track Hemorrhage and I re-recorded it with my vocals on it, sent it in, and I re-enlisted. And then I got a phone call right before I shipped and said, hey, we want you to come out to LA and we want you to, rehearse with the band and do a couple things. And I was like, so here's the deal. I just re-enlisted. I'm getting ready to leave for the Army. I need to know how real this is because we're homeless right now. We're sleeping on my mom's floor. And he was like, I can't. I'm like, look, I know I'm putting you in a weird spot, dude, but I just got to know. And he was like, the best I can tell you is that you're in our top 3. And I was like, it's not real enough, man. Thanks. And I left for the Army. And then, in the Army band and got to play with some amazing players, guys that have, masters and PhDs in performance and things like that from great schools, really talented guys. and gals. And then I got out and came to Tennessee with part of the goal was to, make music. And that was in 2014 when I got out. But it was just kind of like every time I tried to launch this very specific project, every time I tried to do it, it would fail spectacularly. I would do a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe or some type of fundraiser to help raise, because it's not cheap to make music. It's really not. You got to pay people, and I can't play an instrument, so it's like I'm limited to writing my lyrics and singing. So I got to hire people to play. I got to hire people to record. I got to hire all of that, especially if I want to maintain the integrity of the music the way I want it, right? And this last time, I don't know what it was. Like I'm a very faith-driven man. Like my faith in God really drives a lot of what I do. And I believe that this is just the time that he was ready for it to happen for me, because I know had I signed with Capitol Records back in 2004, I would have been divorced and my whole life would have been in shambles. I probably would have overdosed or drank myself to death. If I had gotten signed by Fuel when all that happened, I probably would have been divorced and drunk and all those things. I think I'm at a maturity level now with the story and the ministry that I have through all the things that I do, that this is when it's supposed to happen. And the whole purpose of this album is really about telling the story of the warfighter, from the desire to join as a child, which I found photographs, and not photographs, but crayon drawings as a kid that I did from 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, that literally I was drawing myself as a soldier in every one of them. I wanted to be in the Army. You know what I mean? And a lot of us had that. We wanted to be Marines. We wanted to be, we all wanted to join, right? I mean, nobody wants to be Navy, but whatever.
I thought it was Air Force.
I mean, that's like they're half Army. Like they broke off.
Like
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So the whole purpose of the album, I mean, I've really always done music, but now it's like I'm using it therapeutically, and I'm using it as a way to tell our stories so that others have a place to put their stories well, because it's not just my story. Like these songs I'm writing from my perspective, it's all of our stories. It really is. Like,
so when you're coming to Collierville on April 9th, what are you hoping happens when someone's out in the audience and they're hearing this stuff? Because it's going to be a big event. There's a lot going on there, but each musician has their own thing they're doing, and your thing is to tell your story. But what do you hope people get out of it?
Have you ever sat in a show, at a concert, in your car listening to a song, and when the song plays, you're just like, holy crap, that song's about me?
Yeah.
I want.
Let's see here. There's Rush's Subdivisions that comes to mind. There's Pantera's Walk that comes to mind. A couple of those. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I want people to hear these songs and just go, dude, he wrote that for me. Nice. I want people to have that feeling, that connection to it.
Awesome. So so I'm with Danielle Rocco of Devoted to a Soldier. I'm Travis Oscar Mike Radio, and we are with, I'm going to say it right this time, Malachias Gaskin from A Warrior's Garden, and now recording artist. And he's going to be at the Brian Walker's State Commander VFW fundraiser in Collierville on April 9th. We will be there, right, Danielle?
We will be there. I will be there on time. I'm not missing any planes. I feel like this is starting to become a really bad habit of mine, where I was always early and now I'm like, what? Why are you already at the airport? It's like 3 hours from now. He's like, no, it's like 45 minutes. This is Malachias. I'm growing an issue. I'm not as healing as you. I think I need to really make sure I'm there in April. I need some of your gardening.
You got it.
That'd be great. Now,
well, and we're looking at possibly bringing the Warfighter wagon with us too. You guys have seen the photos of it.
So
we're hoping to have it there in person.
So one thing that I was curious about, and Danielle will appreciate this, is you get people growing gardens, and then what do they do with the stuff they grow?
So here's a beautiful story, okay? Because part of gardening is about connecting, right? Connecting to the soil, connecting to yourself, connecting to the you who you lost, right? One of my families, so we build for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star families. And one of my Gold Star wives, we built her a 17-foot long by 11-foot long L shape that's 3 foot deep. Okay, and we built her 2 of them around the backyard because her yard is real narrow. She grows more than her and her 2 kids can eat every summer now, and she's had it for 3-4 years now. She will harvest stuff, put it in a little wheelbarrow, and walk around the neighborhood giving it away.
Your
It
love
gave her,
is going everywhere.
it created connection in her neighborhood,
Yeah.
in communities where people don't even talk to each other anymore. You know what I mean? And now she has a whole neighborhood, like they all know each other.
All right,
That's so cool.
because I'll tell you something, Malachias. I really don't eat vegetables hardly ever. It's a real sore spot with Danielle. With me, if she could change me, she'd try to. Well, she's tried to. We'll get that's another story entirely with the sea moss gel. But I could like have my own garden, give the stuff away. That would kind of work for me.
So I'm a mostly like I'm a ketovore.
Yeah.
So I eat like
Yeah.
80% meat,
Yeah.
10%, or it's mostly meats and fats and
Absolutely.
natural. Like I eat a little bit of broccoli and a little bit of like some squash.
What's wrong with you two?
I'm a man. I eat man things.
I guess. Yeah, I guess I lost that.
Look at this face, Daniel. Look at this useful face. I didn't get there by accident.
I know.
So
But we won't talk about it because it hurts my heart.
you're doing this thing on April 9th. You're going to be there performing with Chris Turner, Savannah Ray, Bonnie Askew, and I think there's another artist there. Uncle Si is going to be there.
Brittany Nixon.
Brittany Nixon, yeah.
Yep. And then Grace Askew was on The Voice season 4.
Oh, Grace Askew.
And she's been like, she's a touring artist. Like she made a living for 15 years making music on the road. Like she's
right.
Yeah.
Right. So you're with some really like esteemed company, and we've talked to Chris Turner before. We're going to meet these people, and this is for. I didn't realize until Brian Walker started talking to us about how important toilet paper was for homeless people, and this has to hit close to you because of where you were in life.
Well, that, and I'm also a veteran service officer. I have a day job, right?
Okay.
And so my job is to help veterans and their families with their benefits, and we have a food pantry. So I mean, some of this toilet paper is going to benefit my office, my day job. We're going to get a donation of some of that because once it's done on the 9th, this stuff's going back to the communities where it was raised, and it's going to be dispersed to local nonprofits to supplement their budget. Because families, here's the deal, right? Families get on food stamps. What can they buy with that? Food. Can they buy toilet paper? Can they buy paper towels? No.
Wow.
They can buy food products, right? This is how I remember it because I've been on food stamps. I was there, right? And so Brian asked, he asked a lot of nonprofits, like, what is the thing that if you had a bulk delivery of it would like really supplement you to where you could do things better? And most of them said paper products, toilet paper, paper towels, stuff like that, because we can't buy that with our budgets because our budgets is buying meats, cheeses, vegetables, frozen stuff, box stuff, canned stuff, shelf stable stuff, but we can't get that, right? And so that's a huge, especially like when the pandemic happened, like, holy crap, that stuff was scarce. You know what I mean? Like we were rationing even in our office. We were only given one roll per family when they would come in. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's going to be a huge blessing to the nonprofits that are going to be using like these shelters. Like we've got a women's shelter, we've got a homeless shelter, we've got a rehab shelter, we've got our office and several other places. They're all going to benefit. I know that our VFW, where I'm the adjutant, we've raised 3,800 and some rolls so far.
Wow. That's great.
Yep.
Well, we are going to see Malachias on April 9th. I'll have the links to, his A Warrior's Garden book and his other links for this music. I'm going to have the links to the ticket site so you can come to Collierville if you're in the area and check this out. It's going to be massive. It's not that expensive. You're going to see live music, cool raffles. You're going to see, veterans and people out. You're not going to want to miss this, and supporting the local communities in the state of Tennessee. It really kind of speaks to this whole thing because, in my view, Danielle, they're not just serving veterans, they're serving the community as they do when we serve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
It benefits everybody. This is not a one-man show.
Absolutely. Well, Malachias, I cannot wait. It's coming up very soon. I'm very excited. And we'll have to talk meat when we're out there and some good other music. And Danielle, any parting words?
No, I cannot wait. Malachias, that Travis is going to be out there shaking his little tail when you start playing because it's right up his jam. And so I think that in itself is worth the trip out there. Everybody should come just to see that. I mean, like if you're selfish and you don't want to help the world and you want to live in your own little box, awesome. But come and hang out with Travis.
It's going to be epic. It's going to be epic. And, we're going to do our customary, our traditional dance to end the night, Danielle. So it's going to be awesome. Malachias, I want to thank you for coming on. I know you're a busy guy.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah. We'll talk again soon. Like I said, we can't wait to see you all in Tennessee in a couple weeks.
Danielle, did you hear the sneak leak of the new single?
No, because I'm under a rock and a shell this last like 6 months of my life. What the heck?
Scroll back up in the group chat.
And
I posted a link. I posted a link. So it's only going to be up for a couple more days, and I'm going to take it down. So it's a sneak peek.
And that's happening then right after. That's happening right after this.
That's going to be one of the new songs that I'm going to be playing out there at Collierville. So.
I love it.
I love this, and I don't believe in love, but hey, this is all good. I'm Travis again with Oscar Mike Radio. I'm going to send you out here. We are Mission in Flight. I want to thank you for joining me and watching Oscar Mike Radio. Now go to OscarMikeRadio.com and click Shop to check out all the cool merchandise from Authentically American. All proceeds go to veteran service organizations. We are Mission in Flight.